feasibility studies or just investigating what concepts work best. I was not cringing, but also cringing because the history is just that there was a feasibility study, and the feasibility study results is like, well, maybe this isn't the right time to do this, and then we were funded to do it. So we're doing the best we can, and we're happy and appreciate the support and doing the best we can. So there are some things that we are learning, and there's some things that are going really well. There's some markets that we've opened up that we didn't think we'd be able to get into. And then we've also learned that there are some real challenges, and logistics are tremendous. The transportation and distribution that we keep hearing are a big one, but there are some successes along the way, such as we're getting certain products into Fort Drum, because we are the home of the 10th Mountain Division, and that is a big asset that we have. So we're starting to move along that way. I think we're really gaining momentum and making some progress, but I think one of our strategies is really to, rather than try and move into already created markets, is to create some of our own markets. And we're starting to do that in small ways.
I'd just like to reiterate the importance of data that Cheryl mentioned. So we are in the process of collecting that data. We've developed a very comprehensive survey document for both the farmers and the institutions. We're using ArcGIS to map that information so that we can see it spatially and overlay it on other aspects that a food hub needs to see in terms of transportation routes, slaughterhouses, other kinds of assets that are important. So that's one of the things that we're working on this year. And then Kathy mentioned the pilot projects. We are guided by an advisory board that's made of about 40 producers from the 4 counties of the project. And we present to them almost monthly in terms of our progress, what we're doing, activities, looking for them for guidance and direction and approvals. And the next meeting is next week in terms of that presentation. So we put forth to them a number of concepts, but most importantly, the concept was their ability to control markets, to empower them in the marketplace. And how do we do that? And one of the slides that went up, I think was Cheryl's slide, that talked about the big corporations and used the word vertically integrated markets. So I taught our farmers what vertically integrated markets was. And so we are trying to achieve models that achieve for our farmers vertically integrated markets.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Well, we're watching you, and I think it's what's interesting for all of us is we know that there's these types of adventures going on around the state, but they're really great opportunities for us all to be learning. I think that's what's most important.
I do have a question, though.
Yes, go ahead.
For Cheryl. For Eden Valley, what is their biggest market avenue? Are they selling direct to customers, institutions, or are they mostly wholesaling their products to other distributors that are distributing that last mile for them?
So for Eden Valley, they are wholesale. They allow some pickups if folks want to come and pick up there, and if they're distributed in farm markets at that point, that's one thing. But their markets are retail grocery stores. They sell to a lot of distributors, so that's just a good partnership. So one example of why is because they service Buffalo Public School System. There's 65 schools. Eden Valley does not want to make 65 stops, but a distributor does. So it makes sense to put in another middleman to do that distribution to all of those school districts. For them, it's entirely wholesale. And I should have mentioned too, there are food hubs that are working in direct-to-consumer markets and marketing to those. There are ones that are a combination of both, and there are some that are strictly focused on wholesale. I think one of the reasons why the focus is on wholesale is because it always has been for them. That's the kind of their sweet spot.
Other questions? Oh, Andy had a question up front.
Cheryl, you started off by showing us the return to farmers for their products. It's often quite low. So in this hub and expansion, you said there were 15 farms that have joined. Have they seen the economic return for this involvement? Is this turning out to be the sweet spot for them?
Stay tuned. So what we are trying to do at the end of, so we just finished up our 2-year technical assistance grant. It was a local food promotion program grant. And we have 2 years of sales data for the food hub. But what we haven't done is actually speak to the farmers yet. And that's what we're going to be doing with the grant. Actually, they're closing on their growing season. We want to stop data collection, and that'll be the end of October. So starting November, we'll be reaching out to the farmers. Now, I really want to know what the impact on the individual farm is. And I went to Todd, and we had a confusing conversation on my part about how you determine, and it makes sense, right? So a farmer is now selling to the hub, but where was he selling before? And so I'm not an economist, and I'm not going to unpack that, but I think there's a lot in that story. And I can pass the mic over to Todd on that, but we will be doing, I think the data we'll be collecting will be mostly qualitative. Has this been good for you? But we're not going to get at where they transferred that sale from. Because again, I'm not an economist. There you go, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, it's more cumbersome to address that, but right, you will get net impact, right? Even if they reallocate, right? If they were able to sell here and I put in a new greenhouse and did all these baby greens, right? You have that expansion, you're going to generate more impact, right? Or if I'm not selling to the distributor and I'm not selling there, you get the margin is all you get for impact, right? Hopefully that's positive, right? You're selling more to the food hub than you were selling to the distributor before. So you can certainly tease those things out. If it supports expansion, you're going to get a lot more impact. Now, since I have the mic, I always have this pet peeve of the share of the retail dollar, right? Which was basically what your document was. You have to remember, I mean, they're starting at a loaf of bread, right, when you get back to grain, right? So there's a lot of stuff that happens. And just getting a bigger slice doesn't mean you're getting more on net, right? Right? You get a small hunk because you're just selling the grain, right? You get a bigger slice if you take on wholesaling opportunities or distributing that product, right? Then you'll get a bigger share, right, of that slice of bread. But you have to then look at it, what's the cost it takes to get the bigger share.
There's a question in the back.
Yeah, I had a question about Taste New York initiative and if there's any connection to what you guys are
Can you say that again? We
Sure.
can't hear you.
Yeah, I just realized it wasn't. I had a question about the Taste New York initiative, and we see that a lot. And I kind of love-hate relationship with Taste New York. There's one store I go in that I never leave, I always leave cursing, and another one that does some really great work on educating farmers, and cooperative extensions are involved with at least 2 of Taste New York stores that I know. So is there synergy between what's happening in the food hubs in New York and Taste New York? What's the relationship there?
Quite interesting that you asked that because
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Beth Roberts from Broome County Cooperative Extension, where we are operating now 2 Taste New York store, one on the Southern Tier Welcome Center, coming in from Pennsylvania through the 81 Gateway, as well on Upper Front Street in Binghamton. So, as Todd was talking, because we've had confusing conversations with Todd with regards to, the impact.
Music bellow, I'm sorry.
Well, it's really confusing when you're standing in our seats at Extension to really get a hold of what we're doing and what we're creating and what we've kind of almost stumbled onto with regard to now we are running and operating a regional farmers market, and we have 2 Taste New York stores, and we are getting reports, and we've operated for a full year now with the regional market, and we have reports from our local producers and farmers that they've tripled their sales, they've gone after grants for equipment, so we're interfacing with our friends at Soil and Water and other partners on our agriculture task team. And so we're looking at, not only have they grown in sales, they're buying additional equipment, they're hiring additional staff, and we're trying to work with them if there's a marketing need or a labeling need and a cost associated with producing their value-added product. we're looking at what is their, the overall calculation to our local economy with all of those factors that are coming into play. So I think what we need to do, and Laura and our staff at Broome Extension are really trying to wrap our minds and heads around, you know, how do we articulate what is happening in our local community? Because we are really doing the direct-to-consumer food hub. We have pieces of it. We don't have it all down, and we've talked to some local investors. We've talked to some local interested parties that we want to look at wholesale, as well as a potential. But we're thinking that we're going to need to do a feasibility study on that to really see if that is something that we can support at our local level. But Taste New York has provided an additional opportunity for our local farmers and producers to sell and grow their product across the state. And we have many success stories with Taste New York. So while Mayor Miner was talking earlier, and I could totally understand because I used to work in that space at the county level and in municipal government, and I kind of got what she was saying with regard to property tax cap and, ignoring the state, putting everything in eds and meds. And I get that, but in Broome County where we're sitting, without that REDC, it kind of put us more on the map. It gave us more opportunities that we haven't been seeing a lot over the past few years. So I kind of appreciate that process that we've all gone through. And as Donna has also spoken about, even having an agriculture task team or a working group on agriculture is a big deal, because when I came into cooperative extension, we were looking at an 18% funding reduction from the county. And now our funding has gone the opposite direction, and we're up 200,000. So it's, I think we just, as a system-wide, including, that extension system, what we need to do a better job at, and this is my personal opinion, is marketing ourselves and how we talk about ourselves across the state. Because we are making a difference, and we are doing agriculture or ag development. That's our space, and we need to own it and really share what we do well.
Great. We have time for one more question. Is there anyone else who has great.
I have a question at the other end of the food sustainability spectrum from a consumer level. So I work for the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We work with cities and counties across the state, and many of them are telling us they have food deserts, and how could they use federal funds? How could we help them address this? And the question that we haven't got yet is the data question. So how are they determining that they have a food desert? From the outside looking in, it seems unimaginable in some way, because there are supermarkets. They tend not to be in the urban centers where our people live, but they're surrounded by farmland. So, in particular, I'm thinking like the city of Niagara Falls. They have whole neighborhoods, they say, with no access to fresh food. And so we're trying to find a place where they can provide access to healthy food for low-income communities using federal urban development dollars. So we can't necessarily underwrite the food hub side because it's outside of the jurisdiction, but we can find ways to underwrite access within the urban areas. And I'm wondering if there is data on that or your thoughts on it, how we get to solving that problem.
Sure. Yeah, so the food access, the food desert is actually, it is defined. So if you look at the USDA Economic Research Service, they have a mapping app, and basically a food desert is defined as low income and low access. And there's 4 different stages they're color coded. Green is really, really bad, and I think it goes up to yellow, orange, and possibly red. what they're looking at in terms of access, so low income is pretty self-explanatory. Low access has to do with proximity to healthy retail and vehicular ownership. So if you don't have a car and it's the distance to a healthy retail outlet is really far, that's considered low access. So that's how that's actually determined. The other part of the question, I spaced on.
So
It was a big question.
the consumption question. So how do we make food happen there? So there's, they're asking us to invest in things like supermarkets. And what we're saying is, you could use HUD funds to build a supermarket because it creates jobs and so it's economic development and provides access to an essential service. But is that the best economic development? Because the supermarket doesn't want to come, right? If there were a market for them to make a profit, they would have already built. So we need to find niche access or alternative that isn't a large, either a regional greengrocer or co-op or something that isn't a food, a chain supermarket.
Did you want to add a comment?
Yeah, as the city of Binghamton, we have our own food desert on the north side of Binghamton,
Right.
One of several. But the issue, and it's been a decade plus year trying to get a grocery store in there. The alternative that we did, we don't have the final answer yet, but we're kind of moving the pieces back and forth. But there are two things we did. We helped the CHOW, which is Community Hunger Outreach Warehouse. Using CDBG money from HUD, we helped underwrite them putting in a food market, Monday, Wednesday, Friday food market, fresh vegetables, which they're not only selling really inexpensive vegetables, but the excess products coming from farmers and warehouses, they're actually giving away. They're giving away probably 10 times as much food as they sell.